If you micromanage your team every
Yeah.
single day, there won't be any trust. Some of the qualities of leadership is the learning the art of delegation and having trust on your team. So that trust will be broken forever. You won't be able to repair that anytime. I'll give you a couple of tips on how to communicate better, and then I'm gonna tell you the best secret sauce of communication. The definition of motivation differs from people to people, and that's how you grow. That's how the team starts trusting you, and when you have that trust, you build that relationship and grow. We are humans, we are not machines, so you have to connect with them.
Channel Talk with Taiba. This is another interview round, and this round is all about leadership. When I thought about whom should I consult for leadership and what else, who else would be a better person than somebody who has served in many leadership positions. He is a distinguished Toastmaster at Toastmaster International, a portfolio manager at TCS. He is also a YouTuber and an upcoming author of the book Small Town, Bigger Dreams. Please help me welcome today's guest, Haritosh Srivastava.
Thank you so much, Taiva. I was not sure why I was invited, but thank you. This is so great.
Yeah. So, Haritosh, I always feel that, when we start as entrepreneurs, as passionpreneurs, people skills is one very crucial skill that a lot of people struggle with. I've seen a friend, he's into a very good company, he's the tech lead of the company, but he's always frustrated with his team. And every time I ask him, what's the issue, he says that I am not a people's person. And that is not just his problem, this is the problem of so many technical people who are into entrepreneurship. They just don't know how to deal with people. So we are going to dive deeper into leadership skills, people skills in today's interview, and I'm sure Haritosh is going to add a lot of value. So it would be
Sure.
a simple question answer round,
Mm-hmm.
and here comes my first question. My first question is, according to you, Haritosh, what is the secret sauce of becoming a great leader? Over to you.
Thank you so much, Taiva. That's a wonderful question. Uh, what is a secret sauce of being a good leader? I mean, there are multiple qualities of being a leader. One of them, as you said, is about having empathy. Having empathy with your team, being a leader, self leader. I mean, the first definition of leadership, I believe, is the self leadership. Unless you are able to lead yourself, you won't be able to lead anyone else. And once you do that, you have that empathy with your team. You just don't have to command people. We are humans, we are not machines, so you have to connect with them, understand them more, tell them that no, it's okay if you have to miss some time, it's okay if you're failing, that's completely fine, it's part and parcel of life. uh, it's important to deliver. That's why we are here in the business, that's why we are here in the job. But at the same time, you have to let go of some of the mistakes and failures, and that's how you grow, that's how the team starts trusting you, and when you have that trust, you build that relationship and grow.
Oh, wow, that's an amazing answer. So you say, according to you, empathy is the very first quality of being a great leader.
True.
And that makes a lot of sense because, a lot of times people are not concerned with people. They're not concerned with their team members. They're so much concerned just with the profit and the revenues and the work and the business that they just miss out on the most important component of their business. That is the people. That is so beautiful answer. Now, my next question is, Haritosh,
Mm-hmm.
how do you motivate a team that is not very motivated? They're all into politics, they're hatching plans, and they're
Mm-hmm.
just not into that work zone of getting things done. How do you motivate such people?
Very good question, Taiba. The definition of motivation differs from people to people. For example, somebody likes to be awarded. And if you just go and say thank you so much, that probably won't make sense to them. Some people like to be compensated. If you just give them an award, it will not work. So, as a leader, it's your responsibility to find out what is that intrinsic motivation for that particular team member. Once you do that, then you can always reward them in that way, motivate them in that way. If somebody likes to be recognized in front of the team, you have a team meeting, and then you just say that, no, congratulate Mr. X for doing a stellar job, and that will really take them to the next level. If somebody really likes to have those email conversation, send them those email. It doesn't take too much, but yeah, if you miss out on those things, it can really make an big impact to your project, your deliveries, your business.
Amazing, amazing. So you have to be very individualistic when you're
Yeah.
dealing with people. It is not like one size fits all kind
No
of.
way.
You have to be very particular, and everybody's supervisor should be very vigilant of the fact at what. So, but my question is like, while we are working in IT sector, how does somebody bring about an amazing culture wherein there's such a deep attention given to each individual? What do you think comes to your mind for improving this?
Yeah, I think, as I said in the starting, it starts with empathy, which means that you have to know people. You have to know beyond their title. You have to know beyond their designated work. Where do they belong? What do they do? Many a times when we have a meeting on Monday, I ask them, team, how was your weekend and what did you do? And sometime that opens up new channels, and then you take those conversations. So work should be fun, and it becomes fun when you bring up so many other aspects of things. So if somebody is doing say YouTube, that's one example, and so you talk to them, you tell them how was your last video, how is it going. If somebody is very good in terms of sports and they win something, you recognize them in front of team, even though it is not to do with your particular project. We also had one incident. One of our team members grandfather had a heart attack. She had to rush, and one of the first things that we told to her that, no, forget about work at this moment, family is priority. We will step up if required, we'll do additional work, but you take care of him, that is more important. So when you have that trust on your team, she eventually managed to come back to office and do the work. But what was very good thing about that was she was grateful that, no, we were there to backfill her, we were there to take up her role, her responsibility in her dire need. I imagine if you would have said, no, we don't, it doesn't matter to us whether it's your family or anyone else, you have to come and do this work, that trust will be broken forever. You won't be able to repair that anytime.
True, true. That's a beautiful answer, and I can totally relate. I had a manager before, and she used to be always over my head. She used to micromanage things.
Mm.
What she used to do is she used to assign me a task, and every like 10-20 minutes, she would just ask, "Taiba, have you done? Taiba, have you done?" And that used to get me on my nerves. I mean, when somebody, like I'm just working on something and I have not even started working at times, and she would just keep on pinging, pinging, pinging. And now my current manager, he's not bothered about how you're doing things. All he's bothered is what is the final outcome. And
Mm.
he's very supportive also. And I can totally relate when you said the first point, empathy. I can totally relate. When you give that empathy, people can feel it. Like my current
Exactly.
manager, I can see. One day I was having some issues, and he was the one. He said, "Okay, Taiba, it's fine if you're not able to work today. Leave that work and just do what's urgent." So
Mm.
I could feel that empathy, and I think the next day I came, I delivered more
Yeah,
because
exactly.
of that.
Exactly,
That
exactly, and I can totally understand that happens when you are transitioning from an individual contributor to a leader role. It happens very, very often. It's not something, no, which is out of the word, that, no, you get into that zone of micromanagement. Some of the qualities of leadership is the learning the art of delegation and having trust on your team. So you have to delegate your work. If you are doing everything on your own, you are not superhuman. You won't be able to finish the task. You have to delegate, and at the same time, don't micromanage, because if you also feel nagged if somebody is asking every 20 minutes, what happened, what happened. Now, I'm not saying you
yeah,
don't have to do, if very high priority issue is there, sometimes you do have to take up that hat. But if you do it every single day, if you micromanage your team every
yeah.
single day, there won't be any trust. You have to micromanage when there is a need, and your team will not mind on those cases. But if you do it every single day, yeah, they will curse you.
Then and that's what I have happened. That's what happened. I could never work with her. And then this just didn't happen with me. She was also a first time leader,
Yeah.
so maybe it was her issue. She didn't know. She was trying her best to do her best. She was so good with her work, but she was not good with delegating her work. So now my next question is, what are the some best practices to delegate your work in a way that other people really feel motivated about doing that work?
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful question, and there are so many books, so many experiments done on doing on the art of delegation. I believe, just like everything, delegation also has to happen gradually. If you suddenly delegate everything on your one particular person, that person is gonna be bombarded, and he'll not be able to, he or she will not be able to deliver on that. So you have to gradually delegate, and it's a two-way delegation. So you have to delegate something to your team member, and you might have to take some delegation from your boss, from your supervisor. So that's how it will work. It can never be a one-way route. So you do some, and you have to again know your team member that, no, if I delegate this task to person A, he will probably be able to do it better than versus this task. For example, somebody is good in terms of documentation, but he's not good at coding, and if you delegate him the coding task, it can turn into disaster. It may turn into disaster. But if he's good at documentation and you give him some additional work related to documentation, he might appreciate that, and he'll love that, no, he's getting responsibility. So you have to
Yeah.
give the another point that is in terms of delegation is, you have to tell them it's sort of a responsibility that you are giving to them. When you delegate just because you have to get the heck out of your to-do list, it doesn't work well. So you have to make the person aware that, no, this is a important task, and I trust that, no, you will be the person responsible to do this, and I have you will have my full support. And then when you delegate, the person feel really responsible. I mean, you remember when your parents
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
given you an important task, and they would have
yeah.
told you, no, now I think you are grown up and you should take that decision. You would have feel empowered rather than saying, oh my god, I've got another 5 items in my list. So it works like that.
That's a beautiful take. That's a beautiful take. You should communicate to people the kind of responsibility, and you see them in that capacity. That is why you are, expecting so much from them. I
True,
think that
true.
is a beautiful take. My next question is, Haritosh, a lot of time, when people are becoming first time leaders, like my own manager, last manager, she messed up the whole thing. And a lot of people do that. What do you suggest to those people who are first time leaders? How do they build a strong rapport with their team, not being too dominant? At times people are too dominant or too submissive. Both do not work. What is the
Hmm.
best, practice there?
That's a great question, and lot of time people do not know what they do not know. And
Yeah.
what happens in, it's regardless of the position, the company or the business you are, you have to constantly learn and evolve. What happens is, when you are learning that, you will find out, okay, there is something called delegation which I am probably not practicing. uh, I believe in every big corporate there are so many leadership trainings. People probably do not avail that. In my journey, if I talk about, we had two specific training from TCS. I'm not here to advertise TCS, but I'm really grateful to TCS for having those two trainings. One was for 3 or 4 days complete training, which really helped me transform from being an individual contributor to a team leader. And the other training which happened couple of years back was really about finding your Everest, as that's what it is called. It's about, how do you find and rekindle your passion, at the same time allowing your team members to do much more in their life, much more in their work. And I'm pretty sure every major corporate has similar training. So as a leader, you have to understand that it is not end of the world. You have to go through different kinds of trainings, learnings and all. And then, being human, being connected, finding out different ways to connect. Don't get too involved suddenly. So one of the things that I've learned is to analyze situation before taking an action. In one of my projects when I joined, there was about 10 and 12 members team, and for the very first few months, I was observing, then changing left, right and all. So what happens is, if you come and you take over as a leadership position and you keep changing just like that, people are going to hate you. But when you empathize with them, when you spend with time with them, when you understand and analyze, and then you gradually start changing, that those changes are going to be everlasting. And also people will not feel really bad about, they will understand your intent. So you have to change often and change gradually, instead of changing suddenly and everything.
And I feel that, communication plays a big role in all of these things.
Exactly.
Communicating your ideas effectively to people. So, like, what are your tips on communication, especially because you have been in the world of communication for quite some time now? So, what are the best practices for communicating with your team members, with your, subordinates, or with your colleagues also?
Hmm. Yeah, I'll give you a couple of tips on how to communicate better, and then I'm gonna tell you the best secret sauce of communication. So let me start with what are couple of tips. Number one, and that's very common with us back in South Asia, I had to say, or different modes of communication. We don't listen. We just wait for other person to stop and put our points. So that is why listening is an art. You have to listen and understand, and when the other person stops, gather your thoughts and deliver. When you think about communication, a lot of people think about delivering it at as fast as much to as many people as possible. It is not. Communication is generally, you have to slow and steady, understand the situation, analyze, listen, and then respond. And lot of these things happen even on a customer call or in a conference call, when you have five people on a phone and everybody is trying to pitch in there. uh, it leads to chaos. So you have to listen and wait for your turn and then respond, rather than reacting and then interrupting others, because that shows trust, that okay,
Yeah,
you understand the other person. The second thing is practice. Unless you communicate, there is no other way of learning communication. You have to keep practicing with your friends, keep practicing with your colleagues, keep practicing with strangers, keep practicing with your customers. Unless you practice, you won't get better. There is this beautiful story of mine when I was in 2002, when I came out of my hometown for the very first time in Varanasi. I was so curious to learn more about English. So I started going to the banks of River Ganges. And
okay.
in Varanasi, you get lot of foreigners there. And I used to
Okay.
randomly bulge into one of foreigners just to have a conversation, 2 minute, 5 minute conversation, to gauge that okay, did I understand him? Did I understand her?
Yeah.
And were I able to respond to him or her? That actually really increased my confidence, because I was able to talk to strangers, and that to
Yeah.
person who's not even knowing my native language, Hindi. So that boosted
Yeah.
my confidence, and I think in the retrospective, I think that was very bold move for me. So try out those conversation. Now, as I promised in the start
Yeah.
of answer, I said I'm going to give you the secret sauce, and that is join Toastmasters International. They are 97 years old organization who focuses on communication and leadership skills. I joined as an accident, which is probably a different story. I can talk anytime later. But for last 4.5 years, I've seen myself, and I've got so many compliments from so many people of my communication skills, getting from rock bottom to no in a decent way. I'm not gonna say, or no, I'm not gonna boast that I'm very good communicator, but
Yeah.
I am getting better every single time I attend a Toastmaster meeting. And it is no, it is not very costly, and it is very proven method to improve your communication and leadership skills. So if you are anywhere close to any Toastmaster club, please enroll. You are gonna get so many benefits. I can't, it would take months for me to finish if I talk about the all the benefits that you get. So join Toastmaster.
And I think Haritosh is being humble when he says he's just learning. I would just say it is his sheer humility that's speaking. I've seen Haritosh, being there on some of the best stages, delivering some of the best speeches out there. And yeah, it's just his humility that's speaking. So my next question is, Haritosh, that how does somebody find out their leadership style? A lot of people, they just don't know. They're just following others randomly, blindly. How do they see what's best for them?
Okay, I'm gonna give you a random tip and then a systematic tip. A random tip is to like you say, do a dipstick survey with your friends and colleagues. You know, what do you think about? Uh, am I a good leader? What do you like about me? And that would give you some sort of flair of what your
Insight.
leadership style
Yeah.
is. There are
Yeah.
multiple types of leadership style, and there's nothing good or bad. I believe most of the leadership styles is situational leadership style. I'll give you a quick
Yeah.
example. In Toastmaster, you also have a project called Understanding Your Leadership Style,
Yeah.
and that gives you a flair of whether you are authoritarian or you are collaborative and communicative. Now,
Yeah.
imagine there is a fire in a house. No, you don't
Yeah.
want to be communicative if you are a fire marshal. You want to be
Yeah.
authoritative because you have to get the fire closed. You have to
Yeah.
get people out of there,
Extinguished.
and that time you have to
Yeah.
be authoritative. Or you are a military general and there is a war, then you have to be authoritative. So that's the situation leadership. Similarly, if you're working in a team who needs to
Yeah.
deliver value to customer, if you become
Yeah.
authoritative, probably the best ideas will not come forward because people will be scared of you. At that time,
Yeah.
it's best to be a collaborative and communicative leader. So you have to find out what is your natural flair, but you also have to adjust your leadership style based on the situation. So if there is a fire in your project, you sometimes have to be those micromanaging or authoritative leader,
Yeah.
because there is a bigger purpose behind that.
Wow. I think that was a beautiful answer, that you need to go according to the situation. You can't be rigid.
Yeah.
You have to,
Yeah, and I talked about another
adjust
systematic
things.
way of doing that, and that is there are a lot of psychometric tests available. You Google it, you'll find
Yeah.
there are tests to find out whether are you A, B, C, D type, or there are some vegetable type or so. You can go through and find out so many. There are so many resources already available, and you can take some questionnaire. It takes about 5 minutes to find out, but uh, take it with a grain of salt, I would say, because it will depend on how honestly you answer, but you can keep doing that, and that will help you find out which is your leadership style and how you can hone other skills.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I think what you said fits, that's the best answer possible, because sometimes you need to get things done. And that time you need to be authoritative. You have
Yep.
to have that kind of authority. If you are so flexible and lenient, people will eat you like a rasgulla. That's what I feel.
True, true.
So, so at times you have to be like, you
Yeah,
have to wear different hats depending on the situation. Now, my
exactly.
last question is, who is your favorite leader and why?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I'm going to talk about one of my personal leader that I worked with, and another a celebrity leader to say. My personal leader, if I say I have had the opportunity to work with so many great manager. In that sense, I feel blessed. Even my first manager Jinto, when I joined Mindtree,
Yeah.
he's an amazing leader. One of the things that I remembered early on, because I used to do a lot of silly mistakes, and he said that line that still I remember clearly, that no, Ritosh, I am fine with you doing the mistakes, but I am not fine with you doing the same mistake again. And that line, and it's been like 13 years, more than 13 years that I heard that line, but I can still remember that line when he told me. He might not remember. So that was one of the leadership thing that I learned from him, that you have to keep experimenting and learning new things and doing different types of mistakes. So Jinto, my first manager, was one of the best leader, but then I had so many others leader. If I talk about whether it was my second company story, so Presterian, now I had so many people, except one or two odd cases. I generally had privilege of having the best manager that I worked for, so that way it was good. In terms of a celebrity leader, I would say I really like the leadership style of late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And he had his own story of Professor Dhawan. So this beautiful story is from I believe it's in 1968 or 69, when there was a rocket launch to be done by India, and there was some technical failure at the last moment. And
Hmm.
that time, his manager, Professor Dhawan, went to media. There was all media, international media waiting outside, and he said that
Yeah.
I take the ownership of this problem. There was some issue, and I
Yes.
promise within 1 year we will be back with the launch of this satellite launch vehicle. And in 1 year, the scientists, the explorer, everyone worked day and night, and they were ready, and they did launch. And when it launched successfully, Dhawan actually sent Dr. Kalam to do the press conference. He did not go. The lesson there was that, no, when there is a problem, when there is a war, when there is a calamity, as a leader you
Hmm.
have to lead from the front. But when
Yeah.
there is a celebration, when there is achievement, you have to take your team members, you have to take your team, take the lead. Don't want to be in the limelight. You want your team to get the achievement, the recognition.
Wow.
So if you can do that, that I think is the best quality of a leader.
Wow, that is another beautiful answer that, when it's time of war, just go in front, lead from the front. And in celebration, let your team be in the front. Wow, that's a very beautiful answer. Haritosh, now my final question is, tell us a little about your book.
Thank you so
It
much.
sounds an exciting book.
Yes, thank you so much, Taiba, for this opportunity. And this has been one of my dream project to say for last few years. But I would say year 2020 gave me that time to self-reflect and
Yeah.
talk about my stories, my lessons. So, if I give a brief about my story, I was born and brought up in a small town called Jaunpur, next to Varanasi. And for first half of my life, which is roughly 18 years, I was in that small town. Completed my intermediate from there. And then for the next half of my life, for the last 18 years, I've been into I've shifted. I've shifted at least 10 times into different cities, different state, and actually into three different countries and three different geographies. So there have been a number of lessons that I've learned, that I've incorporated. There have been a number of failures. So I put all of those down in a series of 21 lessons that anyone, not only from small town, but anyone can use that to get better at life, to learn more, and to succeed more. One of the examples is that how do you choose your association? Who are your top 5 7 people that you work with, because your
Yeah.
association molds your success and future. So you want to be really
Yeah.
careful, and doesn't have to be people. You can also have books, you can also have podcasts, you can also
Yeah.
go to voluntary organization to elevate your association. So
Yeah.
similarly, there are other 20 chapters that is there in the book, and that I believe will provide value to whoever will read.
Beautiful, beautiful book. So many people are excited about this, and me too. I'll buy the first copy very soon when the book is
Thank you.
out. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
I'm going to leave you all with a thought that I said in the start also. Whether you are a student, whether you are a young professional, you are a senior leader, you are an entrepreneur, remember, leadership starts with yourself. If you want to be, if you want to lead people great, you first have to lead yourself great. So you have to keep learning, keep growing, and keep going out of your comfort zone.
Oh, wow. That is your tagline also.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep going out of your comfort zone. That's a beautiful line. Thank you so much, Haritosh. Like always, I had the most wonderful time with you here on this interview. And I'm sure all those people who view this interview, they are going to learn a lot about leadership, because this is something that people need to learn. People skills, how to communicate better, how to, give people the responsibility, and hold them accountable. So these are very, very crucial skills, which, when people don't have, they are good with technicals, but when they don't have, they don't reach the top of the top. So
Thank
thank
you
you
so much,
for.
Taiba, for providing this opportunity. I'm so grateful you thought about me. So thank you so much, and looking forward to much more collaboration in future.
It would be my pleasure. My pleasure for sure. Thank you so much. And I'm sure everybody is going to have a lot of value from this. That is all for this interview. Stay tuned. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. And I will also link Haritosh's channel in the description box. He has a wonderful channel which focuses on personal development, communication, leadership. So do check out his interview series and all the content that he produces on a regular basis. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
And
much.